Good afternoon. The meeting will now come to order. Hello, I'm Marcia Herbert, President of the Board of Education. I would like to welcome you to the June 7th, 2021 special board meeting. In keeping with the board's commitment to open communication with the community, this meeting is being streamed live on the CCPS website at www.carrollk12.org and broadcast live on Channel 21. We are also recording this meeting so that it can be accessed on demand on our website and broadcast throughout the month on Channel 21. Board members and staff are present in the boardroom. We have one item on the agenda this evening. There will be no citizen participation scheduled for this meeting. I would remind all of us to silence our cell phones and other devices around us that the microphones may pick up. Also, we should each silence our microphones when we are not speaking. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I need a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
So moved by Ms. Battaglia and seconded by?
I'll second.
By Ms. Savigny. It's so nice to be up here. Now I've got to, all right. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes unanimously. We have one action item, and I need a motion to discuss the resolution. And I have Mr. Kyler that will, go ahead.
I would like to make a motion to approve the draft resolution to Governor Hogan as attached to today's agenda with two modifications. Delete the first word draft and insert the date that it was signed.
Do I have a second?
And I will second that for discussion purposes.
Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Do you want to just?
For discussion?
we're-
Okay,
It's
just,
up-
go ahead.
yeah.
All right, I'm sorry. Now we are open for discussion. Mr. Kyler, since you made the motion.
Okay. Some have called this an emergency meeting, and it may not be an emergency, but I think it's time that we look at this. This meeting is solely to discuss this resolution to be sent to Governor Hogan. In 20 states, at least 20 states, masks are optional inside schools in all or some districts. Other states are also moving in that direction. If the governor amends his executive order, each school system in Maryland would have the option to make masks optional in the building. The superintendent and his staff would implement this here. Masks are currently optional outside the building. I'm not sure that's completely understood. Optional means that each person has the option to not wear a mask. It is their decision, not someone else. For example, in here, masks are optional. Now, it doesn't mean that Mrs. Herbert can tell me she wants me to wear a mask. That means I can decide whether or not I wear a mask. That's what this means, in my opinion. And I think we need to be very conscious to stop mask shaming in either direction. I think there's been some from both directions, and I think it's wrong. Everybody should have the option. In Maryland, less than 7.25% of children under 10 have had COVID. There were 3 fatalities. While tragic, the math on that would be not significant. Ages 10 to 19, it's 12.37% with 6 fatalities. Most of that group does have the option now to get a vaccine. All staff has had the opportunity to receive the vaccine, and those that elected that option have all received it. In Carroll, the positivity rate for June 6th was 1.06, and the case rate per 100,000 was 1.61, both well below the state numbers. And I think I'd almost challenge anybody to say that they thought they would be that low at this time. It's just amazing what's happened with the vaccines and what a lot of people have done. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Locker, would you like to share your thoughts?
So I'll let other board
Okay.
members go, and then
Donna, since you seconded, okay. and then I'll get everybody else.
I want to thank Mr. Kyler for his comments. I read through the draft resolution, and I think it makes sense. We're not necessarily saying exactly how we would implement this in the local jurisdiction. What we're saying is we're requesting from the governor that he give that authority to the local jurisdictions to make the decisions. Right? I think that's what this, the specific request of the governor is, right?
Absolutely.
To remove just this one section, so paragraph 3.A.I.3, basically saying, remove that from the executive order so that local jurisdictions have the option to decide how they're going to handle it locally. And so with that in mind, I am supportive of this resolution. I know that we're coming very close to the end of the school year. I'm doubtful that we would actually receive a response in time to do anything for the end of this school year. But I think that it's important to take this step now because I think it's very important to make sure that we have what we need for summer recovery learning when that starts in early July and into the fall. So I don't want to wait to get this ball rolling because we all know how that turns out. Then it turns into a frantic, chaotic situation at the end, and we don't want to do that. We want to be very methodical about the way that we do this. So with all those things in mind and the fact of what Mr. Kyler said, stating the stats, the numbers are very low in Carroll County. And we have hit the 70% vaccination rate at the state level, which Governor Hogan said that he would take things back to normal once we hit those levels. So with all that said, I'm supportive.
Thank you. Who would like to go next? Dr. Dorsey or go ahead, Dr. Dorsey.
I am glad to hear that the resolution you're saying is concerning asking the governor to amend or rescind that part of the executive order. Because at first it sounds like what we're saying is that, okay, now effective, if this can be put through, we want to say that mask wearing.
No, we don't have that
stopped.
authority.
Well, that was my concern.
Okay, no, we do not.
And I really wanted to know how we got to this resolution. I mean, it's good that we're having a discussion right now, but how do we actually get here?
Well, I will say for myself was we've talked amongst ourselves saying, from time to time that the numbers were coming down and it was time to move forward. And I talked to Dr. Lockhart and I talked to Mr. O'Mealy, and we have been forward thinking all through this pandemic, and that's how it happened. I had talked to Dr. Lockhart and Mr. O'Mealy if we could do something I'm really concerned about summer recovery. And I think Mr. Anderson said 4,000 students? That's a lot. And we have air conditioning, but it doesn't work every day. And as of today, we had a little, But if we expect our students to be in there, I want them to be able to have the option for that reason. Ms. Savigny? Oops, okay.
I was just going to continue
Okay,
with where
yeah,
I was going,
sure.
because I think I must have been sort of late coming into the conversation at some point, because again, I had received a call, I guess it was on June 1, and prior to that, on the 28th, I had the letter from the District 5 delegation that was forwarded to me. So really, when I received that forwarded letter, that was my first inkling that we were going to be
Right.
considering something formally at that point.
I know we did not vote on anything as a board, and I also talked with Mr. O'Mealy and Dr. Lockhart about sending an individual letter, seeing what we can do, and to help this move along. And I do not have the authority to do that with the board, but I just wanted to be forward thinking.
Okay.
Go ahead, yes.
Well, that's really a point of information or a point of order that I have a question concerning that. how we get to this point where we have the resolution and there hadn't been a discussion in an open meeting concerning this.
Yeah, I can answer that. I've been sending emails to a lot of people to get rid of masks. And I mentioned, my only discussion really was with Mrs. Herbert, my opinion as president, and I didn't really ask. I said, I'm sending a letter, a little bit more formal than an email, to Dr. Salmon as Kenny Kyler, which I have every right to do. And I purposely didn't talk to any of the rest of you because I wasn't speaking for the board. And no offense, but I'm kind of happy that when any of you heard about it, you were surprised, because I didn't want it to be that we all colluded together to write a letter and whatever. I wanted to write a letter. Now, I think you wrote a letter. I've never seen
Yes.
it. But, and then what happened is I sent it to various people in the governor's office and Maryland State Department of Education, and then I forwarded it to the delegation because my opinion had been very supportive of us, and I just said, this is what I'm doing. I didn't post it on social media. They did, which they have every right to do. And I think a lot of assumptions were made when people saw it. So I don't think, because of some other counties for some stuff, that we're going to get much traction that way. Plus, my other concern was, back when we made the outdoor one, Dr. Lockhart said, and it was just that day that Governor Hogan had said it, he was doing it, but the stadiums were on hold for 3 more days or something. I can't remember the details.
Till Saturday.
So I'm thinking, I can't come to the next meeting and make a motion to get rid of mask indoor because it violates the governor's executive order. So I then wrote this, sent it to Marcia Herbert, and said, can we bring this up in a meeting and do a resolution of the governor to amend his executive order? And I think various people, that was a week ago maybe, but, you know, this is the first day that it suited everybody. My other concern, I think Wednesday's meeting is going to be a very long meeting, and I didn't think we needed to add something else to it. I fully recognize, like Mrs. Vigney said, this isn't for the last week of school. I'll be honest, my personal opinion, if the governor said yesterday this was okay, it should be. We should make it immediately. I mean, it's ridiculous that they're not. The kids under 9 get COVID at a lesser percentage than the vaccine would protect them. But again, that's up to individual parents what they do if and when that comes available. So I wrote this. I assumed you reviewed it, and it's, at least we're legal, I hope.
Well, I received it after the agenda was published,
Oh, okay.
and I have since reviewed it, and it's perfectly legal to make a request to the governor. The advice that I gave to Mrs. Herbert when she asked was simply that the board needs to have an open public meeting in order to consider the draft resolution. It wasn't a substantive piece of advice that I gave. It was in accordance with the Open Meetings Act, and I said that that open public meeting needed to be held with enough time for the agenda to be publicized.
So that's how we
It couldn't
came
be
to the
that
day.
day
Okay,
or
gotcha.
the next day. It had to be, with enough
Right.
notice
Yeah.
to the public.
Yeah, I wasn't aware of that conversation. I just,
Right.
and then I just got asked, could I meet today? And I said yes.
Because whatever I've done, I've checked with you and I've checked with Dr. Lockhart first before I did anything. Because I feel this is so important, and I know it's going to drag on, and it's very time sensitive. Anything else?
No, you've answered my questions.
Okay.
Thank you.
Ms. Taglia?
Just like Dr. Dorsey, I was a little surprised. I got messages via Facebook, and it was like, what is this? And I'm going, I don't know. Okay. But I mean, I'm actually glad it was that way. So I was off guard, And yeah, I mean, anybody in the public has the right to send a letter to the governor requesting change for something. That's with any public office. You request change. You know, the constant emails we have received regarding what was posted on social media by Senator Reedy and the delegates, you know, with their letter. So I think it is important for the public to understand that at any time, anybody can send a letter to any government official and ask for change in life, in anything that they want done in society. I am a full supporter and advocate of parent choice and family choice, and it is a personal choice. Pushing the vaccines, I don't think is, you know, I don't find appropriate. I will say now, you will never, ever hear me say that I think we need to make vaccines mandatory. I don't find that fair. I don't find that right. So I do think medical choices do need to be made by families, and it needs to be their personal choices. And honestly, that is the constitutional right that they have. So I am a full support too, as well as local boards having their own authority. I've said that before. You know, local boards need to be able to, they're the ones that know what's going on in their county and what is going on in their schools and their towns. So yes, local boards need to have their own authority on rules.
Thank you. Devanshi?
While I wholeheartedly agree that local boards do need jurisdiction in determining, especially with the way that the pandemic has gone and the cases numbers go down in our community, I know that I'm personally a bit uncomfortable with the removal of the mask mandate, and I do know that many students still are as well, whether they are in high school, whether they are still vaccinated, because they know that some of their peers may not have been vaccinated. And those are very valid concerns that the students still have within the schools, elementary, middle, and high. So just want to say that while I support giving local governments and boards the jurisdiction, I'm a bit uncomfortable with the message that this sends.
Thank you. Anyone? Dr. Dorsey?
So if we fast forward this and say, okay, you know, if this is signed, and then if it comes back to the local authority, then we would have the open discussion
Absolutely.
of whether to lift the masks or not. Because again, I too know that at the elementary level, you know, there certainly are some concerns. The children not being of the age at this point to be vaccinated. And I think some of even the middle schoolers have gotten maybe their first vaccine in some cases, but maybe not fully vaccinated. So again, as long as, again, we're on the same page as saying, give us the authority, you know, I can go with that. But
Thank you.
that would lead to our discussion then openly
Right.
of what we're
Oh,
going
yeah,
to
we'd have to have an open discussion on this. Yes, we're not changing the governor's rules whatsoever. We do not have that authority. And I did, just want to make sure that, I want everybody to know that I did call everyone on this, on each one of our board members about this.
Yes, June 1 for me.
Yep. And I did, yes. Dr. Locker?
Thank you, Ms. Herbert. Just a couple things to add. Certainly, I appreciate the reason for asking the question, right? And I think several board members have outlined, you know, what we have going on this summer and heading into fall. As I've done for the last 18 months, I've continued to talk to Mr. Singer, our health department director. And I wanted to make sure I got his take. I've tried to follow as best and close as possible his suggestions and his advice. Mr. Singer said it was okay to share this, and he'll be with us Wednesday. But you know, he also shared with me, you know, if transmission rates continue at the low risk for transmission in schools, which we reached last week.
Yes, we did.
And the governor lifts the order and gives systems the option, he would support lifting the face covering requirements in schools, as do I. Again, meeting those standards, which again, a pretty big milestone with the low rating or risk. If you remember, we spent gobs of time looking at color-coded charts and seeing where all those
Yes,
things
we did.
were. And so, obviously, if something happened and things went another direction, he'd want to revisit that. But I wanted to make sure I shared his perspective and my
Absolutely.
concurrence with that as well.
Thank you very much.
That's nice to hear.
That's great to hear. And
And
it was,
Dr. Lockard, is it true that we don't have any active staff cases?
That's correct, as of last Wednesday.
that's very good news, and it was really good news to find us in the low category. So, and I want to thank everyone for being diligent, getting their vaccines, following directions and things like that. So, does anybody else have any other things they'd like, Ms. Savigny?
I did just want to clarify when you had said that, that we had all talked about this, you meant in public meetings.
Absolutely.
Right, like we
yes.
did not have
Oh,
any
no,
discussions.
no.
Because I became
No.
aware of it the same
No,
time
no,
you
no,
did,
no,
Dr.
no, no.
Dorsey.
Absolutely not, no. We've got
Because
to discuss this in front.
Right, I mean, we've just learned today that you both sent letters, but they were as individuals, you know, they had nothing to do with the
Nothing
Board
to
of Ed.
do-
and
no.
You were just referencing the conversations that we've had in public and in open session that from time to time have involved situations with or discussions about masks. So that's what you're
Absolutely.
referring to.
Yes, exactly. So, anybody else want to say anything else before we take a vote? All right, I call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes unanimously, and I want to thank you all. Now, I need a motion to adjourn
So moved.
by Dr. Dorsey and seconded by
I'll second.
Ms.
And before we vote, Donna never had a meeting this short. I don't remember this.
No, I don't think I'm pretty sure I never did.
Just, you know.
Very true.
Oh, that's, okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes unanimously. And thank you all very much.